Hey, how goes it everyone? Hope you're all doing well, and for those of you also in the States, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. So, Deku vs. Asta is finally out. Honestly, I don't have a ton of preamble to go with this, since it isn't a matchup I have any particularly strong investment in, but over the waiting period I've really warmed up to this one, to the point where it's become my favorite matchup for both. And thankfully, the toxicity seems to have died down, in regards to people getting pissy over getting the exact thing they wanted, that being a Deku matchup that isn't Gon, so, that's good, I guess. At least I'm glad to have gone into this one without any other clouds hanging overhead, especially so with this being the penultimate episode, the second to last stop of the season. So, what did I think of it? Well, I don't have anything else to lead into this with, so without further ado, let's just jump right in. Regarding the rundowns, I like them well enough, but this is another one of those cases where I just have practically fuck all to say about them. I liked hearing about both characters' stories and how the world of Black Clover works, and I thought the endings were nice. Plus there were solid jokes when they weren't the whole shoving wizards in lockers bit. It was funny in the preview, but Boomstick hammers it in like 4 or 5 separate times, and each time is progressively less funny. The cutaways also don't give me anything to talk about, other than the fact that I got a chuckle out of Wiz saying, "I'm the book boy," so that's something. Oh, also, the interpolation in a number of the clips they use is kinda distracting, not gonna lie. Okay, that wraps up my take on that. Fight time now! For starters, I like the tournament setting. Yeah, it's simple, but it fits the characters, at least from my understanding, and at the end of the day, that's as much as I could have asked from it, so it does its job. I also like the contrast in how the characters are introduced, with Deku already strategizing a way around Asta being a sword fighter, and they even include the mumbling in a non-intrusive way, which I appreciate. Meanwhile, Asta's plan is that he just has to hit him really hard, and I think that's fun. Apparently, some people have said that this is out of character for Asta, but I don't know him well enough to bring myself to be bothered by it that much. And since we're on the topic of the first impressions, I really liked Asta's sprites, and I think Michael Kovac did a great job voicing him. On Deku's side, I know people have had comments about his voice, but no matter what you think about Jose Estrada's performance in terms of how it sounds, it feels a lot like Deku, and I feel that's a lot more important. As for the sprites, though, they're not bad, but something about them just feels a little off to me, but I can't for the life of me put my finger on what that is. Anywho, fight starts, Deku blitzes for a bit, and Asta gets the drop on him with what I assume is his precognition. I like this sequence, though something about Deku's little hop afterwards kinda throws me, but again, I could not tell you why. That being said, this is the only moment that I would remotely consider jank. The puppet rigging in this episode is generally really great, really fluid, so major props on that front. I like the cinematography of Asta getting his sword from the grimoire, and Deku's line after getting hit into a wall is fun. Like, yeah, of course swords would normally be sharp, but you see, this ain't your normal sword, yeah? I also like that we get a good showing of Deku's various quirks. Like, I assume the blitzing earlier was done with Fa Jin, and we also get Smokescreen, Danger Sense, and Black Whip back to back to back, so that's neat. Plus, Asta gets his own line about how his swords aren't fucking doing anything. Again, it's fun, and I'm glad that it's an observation that doesn't overstay its welcome. You know what does overstay its welcome, though? Detroit Smash. Deku spams it for a good chunk of the runtime, and it's the only one of his normal smashes that we see throughout the entire fight. Plus, why doesn't Asta just break the chain by cutting himself out the second he gets out the Demon Slasher? Come on. Well, at least we get Asta's remark afterwards about not knowing what Detroit is, so that almost makes up for it. Oh, right, the Black Asta transformation. I liked the impact of him destroying the building, but that's more of a universal positive for the animation, if anything. So, outside of that and the Detroit remark, I don't have anything to say on it, because it happened off-screen. I will say, though, that Deku kicking hard enough to uproot a building, and Asta's follow-up line after slashing through it are really cool. I also like this running shot of Deku, but I also feel that there's a scene missing between it and the clash before it. Maybe that's just a me thing, but it just feels like there's a smash cut, and there should have been something there to establish that Deku was even on the top of a building in the first place. On top of that, while the following rapid clashes do have a good sense of speed to them, they honestly feel a little weightless, especially with the background just kind of lightly swaying as it happens. But things start to pick up again after Deku gets sent back down to Earth, with him deciding to go all out and that he just needs to hit Asta really hard, which is just a fun way to bring it all back to the beginning. But the moment that follows is just something else. Deku mirrors All Might's last stand from his own episode, right down to saying his "you wanted my best" line, and I love the shot of One For All getting passed down to him, especially with All Might's visage there. Asta also gets a cool shot with Liba's silhouette, but I do wish that he also had his own line here. Not a deal breaker though, especially when the scene is great as it is, helped even more by the amazing track from Brandon and Anthony. I love Strongest Alive a lot. It's fun and energetic, and as high-octane as a track for your typical shonen pro-tag match should be. But what gets me the most are the callbacks to two of Brandon's previous works. Mighty from All Might vs. Might Guy, and Marvel for All, which was a commission track for Deku vs. Kamala Khan. This was such a fun little addition that he didn't really need to do, but he did anyway, and it really helps elevate this track all the more. I can't say that it's my favorite of the season, because, like, Hedge of Tomorrow still exists, but it's definitely up there. To wrap things up, Deku and Asta have one last clash, which destroys the arena they're in, and it gives us a fake-out with this really well-drawn Deku, before Asta gets back up and uses his swords to pin Deku to the ground once and for all. Now, here's why I'm not big on this kill. For starters, I don't like the pacing of the fake-out given that Asta gets up literally right after, but also how do Asta's swords even pierce Deku when they weren't able to prior? But also, how is Asta even able to do this after powering down when they explicitly said in the analysis that doing so leaves him powerless for half an hour? But then also, apparently the shot of Deku's eyes going white is when he actually dies, so that just raises even more questions, and it all just adds up to the most confusing thing this entire season. But then Asta says, "Take that, Detroit," and we end on a fun little reference to Hercule vs. Dan, and all is right with the world once again. And as for the conclusion, it was alright. I like how even things ended up being, and how they didn't have any direct counters to each other given the natures of their different skill sets. Plus, for some reason, the way Boomstick delivers "let's crunch some numbers" is a highlight to me. Aside from that, I have nothing else to add. So yeah, I feel I can say I walked away from this having liked it, and at the end of the day, could I really ask for anything else? That being said, and sorry to say, but I felt this episode was a lot more underwhelming than I was expecting. There wasn't anything I'd call outright bad other than maybe the kill, but there was also nothing that I can wholeheartedly say blew me away, outside of the track and also the line ever. And for an episode that features Deku, that's a shame. I'm just saying that I wish I could like it more, you know? But hey, I went into this with my only hope being that the episode was good, and it was, so I still win at the end of the day, huh? But now, looking to the future, the finale. Can you really believe we're already here? And to think, Season 9 is ending off with Vegito versus Gogeta. Okay, I have some thoughts. First things first, I'm not mad. The team wanted to do this, so they're doing this. They don't need any other reasons. And there are people who are actually hyped for this episode, which, good on you. I mean, this is the Dragon Ball match of all time we're talking about here, so I get it. But by the same token, you also couldn't pay me to give a shit. Especially when it's the third Dragon Ball episode this season, and also the third one to be at least tangentially related to Vegeta. How the hell did we manage that this year? I mean, yeah, a lot of people were hoping that Gogeta would fight Omnimon, myself included, but this just means that it'll just have to wait its turn a little longer. And yes, to specify, it's not dead, it can still happen. Can people please, for the love of God, just stop being all doom and gloom and acting like the sky is falling and souring everyone else's fun just because the show does a matchup you don't prefer? It doesn't accomplish anything, and quite frankly, I think it's unhealthy. In any case, will the episode be good? I mean, I'm not worried on that front. Dragon Ball episodes and finales typically tend to be great. But that doesn't change the fact that this is probably the most blasé I've ever felt towards a finale reveal, and the most so I've felt towards a reveal this season since, funny enough, Thor vs. Vegeta. To get things back on a high note, it looks like they're giving this episode more time in the oven to create an end product that they're proud of, and for a finale that's really important, so I'm looking forward to what they have planned. Yeah! Turning it back around, that's how we do it here! And with that all said, I gotta run. I've got something of my own cooking in the oven for you guys, and I don't have a lot of time left if I want to get this done by the end of the year. So, as always, thank you for sticking around to the end if you made it this far, and I will see you all in the next video. Stay safe out there, and have a good one!